Dear Venerable, I read that to be born a human is a privilege. It takes many cycles of rebirth to be born a human. Can you please let us know a little bit about why the human life is so special? Well, your first part of the question says to be born as a human is a privilege. It's not easy to be born as a human, but I don't know if it's a privilege. When you're talking about privilege, that means you are in control. It's a privilege. You must have done something that is a privilege. Would it be more a privilege to be born as a guardian angel in heaven than to be human? And also, if you think that to be born as human is a privilege, and how come some privileges are suffering more than other privileges? And how come some privileges are richer than other privileges? And how come all privileges are different? So I don't know if you think that to be born as a human is a privilege. I challenge that, not by saying that you're not telling the truth. I say we need more research and explanation on why different humans have different privileges, and why is this privilege different? Is it given by God, the privilege? If it is given by God, how come God gives different and unequal privilege to different individuals? But if you say that no, it's not given by God, it's you earn it yourself, then how come some people earn more than the others? But let's take a look at the second part of the question. It takes many cycles of rebirth to be born a human. Yeah? It takes many cycles to be born as an animal too. Can you please let us know a little bit more about why the human life is so special? I like the last part of the question. Why the human life is so special? Well, let's talk about it. Let's explore into why the human life is so special. How special should we say? First of all, what did the Buddha talk about when he talked about humans? Where are humans staying? We are staying in North America, in Canada, and some in Asia, some in Europe, and some in North Korea, where they have the fear now. So every part of the world, in this world, they're humans. But Buddha's wisdom goes beyond this world. There are other three more kinds of humans other than this kind of human that we are. We are humans, species of the south. There are human species of the north, human species of the east, and human species of the west. That's how the Buddha, for the sake of simplicity, classified according to locations. He could have classified in many ways, but it just for the sake of speaking. If you want to classify something, you've got to differentiate how to classify this. We're classifying in terms of locations. People in the south, namely, we have the most suffering. That's so special about it. People of the south have the most suffering. And people of the north, human species, have the least suffering. And of course, the east and west lies in between. Give you an example, people in the north, they live up to 1,000 years. We live up maybe at the most to 100 years. They live up to 1,000 years and they do not die in between. In other words, from first being born to 1,000 years, they live until they die, 1,000 years stop. But we are different. We can die anytime. You're not only due for 100. You could be due for 50, for 1, for 2, for 3, or 4. So we die anytime. But in our mind, we think that death is always so remote. It's a concept that's so remote. I'm healthy now, so why do you say I'm dying? But it just takes one accident that will take your life away. Not just aging. You know, more and more, since I am aging, I find sufferings in aging, not only in me, in what I see. And even in our group of meditators, I've been here for 35 years. I've seen people come and go. You guys are new. I've seen people whom I saw many, many years ago. They are very active and they are very young. And now when they're circumambulating, they're like this. You know, moving very slowly. And more wrinkles. And a lot of changes in people, aging. So, East and West. So what else is so special about this species that we are living in? We are the species of the South. We are the shortest lived. Basically 100 years. And when we died, where are we going? We're going to the 6 paths of reincarnations. Animal ram, you know, better rams in heavens. But that's not the ultimate way to go, because the heavens still reincarnate. And then the ghost ram, the Azura's rams, and all that, the 6 rams of reincarnations. Southern location, our species, there's something special about us. We have the most suffering, sure. We could die at young age. But the Buddha said, species of the South can endure sufferings. Their perseverance is much higher than all the other 3 locations. Those of the other 3 locations. We are able to put up with, we're able to tolerate sufferings that imposing on us through the environment or through our own karma. Why is it like that? Why are we capable of tolerating sufferings? That's the specialty about us. And because we can tolerate suffering, more than just tolerate suffering, there's another characteristic that we have. We're extremely diligent. We work hard. People of these species in the South, they can tolerate suffering, they can work hard to make a living. In the North, for 1,000 years, they don't have to make a living. They don't have any boss. In other words, food come naturally, and they really have to work. You know, they just enjoy. I have never been there. I can't tell you. I just repeat from what the Buddha told me. You know, in sutras, they enjoy life for 1,000 years, and then after they die, they were reborn in heaven. So they don't have to worry about it. When they die, they just go to heaven. And then after their heaven is served, the period is served, then they reincarnate again back into the 6 paths of reincarnations. So ours, we are the most diligent, we work very hard, and we can endure suffering. And because of that, people, species in these locations, can become a Buddha. They can become Buddha because they work hard at enlightenment. Whereas in 1,000 years, people in 1,000 years, they don't have any Buddhism there. No Buddha in there. They don't need Buddha. Because everybody is so happy, they don't need Buddha. So Buddha is not reborn there to be the Buddha, to introduce Buddhism. There's no Buddhism in the north. And how about in the east and the west? Not much Buddhism. The most Buddhism is in here. That's the reason why Sakyamuni Buddha was born 2,600 years ago into this world, because this world contains species that can be enlightened, that will go through the enlightenment process, that would explore the spiritual odyssey to become a Buddha. This is in this life. One of the most outstanding example of perseverance and diligence, we always want to quote a very good example of humans who was able to sustain so much suffering and who was able to be so successful in what he or she is looking for. There's a person in North America 100 years ago, almost like. He was mute. She couldn't speak. She couldn't see. She couldn't hear. She lost all her senses at the age of 5 or 6. That's Helen Keller. That's what? Keller. Helen Keller. She had no senses at all. So imagine a person who has to suffer so much from having no senses. She was able to sustain and tolerate that and came out to be so successful a philosopher and a writer. There's a very good example of human tolerance. When you have no listening skill, you can't hear, you can't even have a teacher teaching you. When you cannot speak, you have no one to talk to express your gratitude, to express your emotions and passions inside. You have no one to talk to, you can't talk. You can't listen, you can't talk, you can't see. So what else is there? The only thing you have is touch. But she was able to use touch to become so successful, to become so enlightened. So, talking about this continent contains species that are so tolerable of suffering, that work so hard. Do you have those characteristics? Varies in degree. Sometimes I feel so, when I get so lazy in my practice, I always think about Helen Keller. Why am I so lazy? This characteristics of humans is so diligent, and I spend all my time playing my games, my computer games. I spend all my time in fooling around. I spend all my time in looking for pursuit of Epicurean material enjoyments. I'm not qualified as a human being in this species. I should work harder. That's how I encourage myself, because I should have those characteristics. I should work hard at my enlightenment. I can tolerate a lot of sufferings. So when sufferings come to me, I won't be despair. But look at so many people, when they caught a disease that is so acute, that is so terrifying, they depress. They gave up. They gave up hope. They're just lying there waiting for death. This is something that we should always think about. Are we not wasting our time? Because all these characteristics that this continent contains, how much do I have those characteristics? If you are on your way to the practice of enlightenment, you are on your way to the Buddhahood. You're on your way to uplift your wisdom until you reach that stage, what we call nirvana. At that stage, you're free from life and death. No more rebirth. No more going through all these different species of animals and the rams. You are at eternity. Actually, there's no such thing as eternity. It's just for the purpose of talking about it. For that reason, there's no such thing as nirvana too. But if we don't talk about it, where do we go? We got to use our language to talk about it. You take the ferry to Victoria. And when you reach Victoria, you got to forsake the ship. No more Buddhism. You have to leave Buddhism in order to get on shore. You have to leave the boat to land on Victoria. You don't hang onto the boat, but you need the boat. You need to talk about the boat. No boat, no crossing of the waters. You're sunken in the ocean of life and death, like you and me. Any more question? Yes?
Yes, I was wondering if you could talk about the meditation retreat.
Meditation retreat?
Yeah.
Oh, we're going to have the meditation retreat in. How many people will come in to sign up?
11 so far.
11 so far? So we'll put a stop after it reaches 30. But then probably we'll stop at 20 because we'll have our own people, right? We don't know. It's not here. It's at Bowen Island. So you got to, first of all, for those who qualify to come, you need to have your own sleeping bag, because we can't provide so many blankets and pillows for you. Plus, we have a lot of washing to do, laundry to do. You bring in your own sleeping bag. We have bed for you. You will be staying 2 nights in Bowen Island, where it's the forest. It's a forest meditation. It's not a concrete building meditation. You may be meditating in a forest, or you're meditating by the side of a sea. We have a shoreline of 500 feet. We have a forest in which we contain thousands and thousands of trees. We have trees that are as old as 700 years old. So it's a forest tradition meditation retreat. It's so quiet. You couldn't hear any car. You can only hear occasionally the singing of a bird, or maybe the sight, because these animals are so quiet, of a deer walking by. There's 6,000 deers on Bowen Island. There hasn't been any bear record on Bowen Island, unless you're lucky when you're there. So it's a quiet meditation retreat, and we'll have a whole day's practice of meditation, some chanting, some circumambulations, and trail meditation. We'll be walking on trail. We'll be going, for example, from the shoreline up to Honeymoon Lake and a mountain, halfway on the mountain, and then we'll be going by, the trail walking. It's a trail meditation where you have to keep absolutely silence. You don't sing, you don't talk when you're doing the trail meditation. For those who like nature, this would be an absolutely good practice for you. Where the air is so fresh, the water is so fresh, the environment is so quiet, and I guess to me there's no comparison to many other places. Yeah, we'll have a whole list of activities. So we get up 4:30 in the morning. We start 5 o'clock, and then 6:30 you have the breakfast. And some of the people in the city, they may have the breakfast at 12. They call it a brunch, So you have to get up early in the morning, 4:30, 5:30 in the morning, and then they practice every hour. Of course, in between you have some short period breaks, and then you practice until meditation, walking meditation, trail meditation, chanting, Dharma talk, and a lunch session. No dinner session though. You only eat 2 meals in a day. Huh?
We'll get a juice.
Yeah, not to scare you away, give you some juice. Yeah, you can drink juice only. Juice that have no remnants of fruits in it. So only juice and water. And yet, most people in North America, they overeat. They don't need to eat so much. So if you're thinking of going on diet and reducing your weight, this is the way to go. You only have 2 meals. Only 2 meals, and after those 2 meals, no more meal. You only have juice. And tried it out. And we don't charge anything for it. We're not talking about money. But if you want to donate some money, feel free. And we always encourage people to donate. Always think about giving. You don't always receive and receive, you know. Always think about what kind of benefit I have. Do they charge me any money? Do I have to give out money? I don't want to give out any money. I only want to get benefit. I don't want to give out any money. If that's your psychology, then you should give out a lot of money maybe. We'll charge you a lot. Okay? You don't need to pay any money. But donation, it's welcome. Because that, where did the money come from to operate this? There are some generous people, they talked to me already. He said, I will support your meditation retreat. I don't have time to go there. But for anybody who go there, I support the food, I support this. They don't need to receive the benefit, they just want to give. There are people like that. There are at least 10, 20 people like that. It's the cultural traits. The Asian culture is, they're so used to giving. They're so used to giving out. They don't necessarily to enjoy the benefit, but they like to give out. There are people like that.